Should you buy
Or should you build?
Or neither.
Today we're going to answer that question and give you guys some more information on what you need to consider. Hey guys, hello, we keep it dirty off-road, and in this video we're going to go over whether it's better to buy or it's better to build when it comes to doing your off-road truck. This discussion comes from the fact that I've been kind of struggling with what to do next. We know we want to do a Gen 1. We know we want to do a built-up truck this time. We don't want to stay stockish like we did before. Because, you know, if we're going to go down to a Gen 1, we need to upgrade. And as we started doing the build, a lot of you guys are like, just build it, just build it. It seems like a lot of people don't understand all the economics and all the numbers that go into building one of these trucks. So in this video, I kind of want to address that because I'm a numbers guy, and if it doesn't make sense financially, it's not something that I do. In this video, we're going to go through a couple of trucks, show you what it actually takes to build up a truck just in a high level, and show you what it takes to finance and build and how much money you need to do out of pocket in order to do these trucks. And we're going to go from very simple, which is like a bolt kit style truck, all the way up to a fully caged truck to show you guys the difference in what you guys have to consider in your planning, how much money you need to bring to the table in order to do those builds. And whether you're doing a buy or a build, it's a big difference. We're going to take a look at a couple trucks that are available on the market right now and kind of give you guys an idea of what you have to consider when it comes to doing your own build. We're going to use the Raptor core truck as an example to see how much it would cost to buy that used, then rehab it, or to buy a truck and build it up just like it. First of all, it's a really good truck. It's the SVC mid-travel kit, front and back. It's got a rack. It's got 37, zero offset wheels. There's a lot of stuff going on that truck. Some bad stuff too, like the amp steps and all that stuff. Got bump stops. He has it listed for $70,000. In my opinion, that price is a little high, and that's the reason why we don't have that truck. So we take a look at the truck. It's priced $70,000, right? It's really $69,999, whatever. We're gonna round everything up just to make it easier to figure things out. So if we were to buy that truck, price would be $70,000. Tax and licensing would be 10% of that, which is about $7,000. So the total price of the truck, good tax, title, licensing, everything, is gonna be about $77,000. Now from here is where it gets tricky. You need to look up and see what the banks are willing to finance on a vehicle like that. It's not gonna be 70 grand. There's not enough value in that truck to do that. Aftermarket parts don't mean anything to a bank, and you have to take that into consideration. Now we looked it up. We're going to go all of our values based on Kelly Blue Book because that's the standard. That's what most banks follow. And then we're also going to cap out our financing at 100% of that value. There are some banks that will go 125%, but as a rule of thumb, you never want to be under on a car right when you buy it. If for whatever reason you get into an accident or yours gets totaled like mine did, you don't want to be in a situation where the bank can't be paid off because your insurance is only going to cover about 100% of the value of the vehicle. Good thing is Raptors tend to keep their value and they appreciate. Gen 1 prices right now are ridiculous. They're 10 grand more than normal. So you're not going to worry that as much, but general rule, don't finance more than 100% of the value of the vehicle. So in this case, the Raptor core truck is $47,000. So if you take a look at the fact that it's $77,000, we're going to finance $47,000. That means that out of pocket, you have to come down with $30,000 in order to get that Raptor core truck at its current price. That is a lot of money. Now, let's say he did come down on the price a little bit. That might help us out a little bit. Let's say he took it down to $65,000. Tax and licensing is around $6,500. Price of the vehicle is $71,500. If we take the same amount booked, then your amount down comes down to about $24,500. So it comes down a little bit more. That's kind of what he offered us on that truck. I still think that's way too high for what that truck is. You know, it's going to need new tires. It's going to need all the joints have to be looked at. The bushings have to be replaced. It's a lot of work. And because of some of the history and how much it's been ridden off-road, the shock should be rebuilt. All told, if I had to buy all of that stuff and do all that work, we're looking at close to $8,000 to $10,000 just to rehab that truck, just to get it back on the road. That's a lot of money. Maybe, and I'm a little too high there, but it's a lot of money to get that truck rehab. Now, we went ahead and reached out to SVC to see how much that truck would cost us to build. And hey, we want to have this, and that. We want to do the bump stops. We want to do the full kit. We want to do the bumpers with the dovetail. Everything that we saw in here, including that extra little light rack. We even told them, hey, can you copy this truck? The only thing that we didn't include on their quote is wheels. And we didn't include the track bars. I didn't think we need the track bars. But in order to rebuild that truck, if we were to do it ourselves, we would have to take a truck that's worth around the same, about $47,000, and it would cost us another $49,000 to build it. So what does that come out to? Close to 100 grand to replicate that truck. Now that's where the price kind of looks a little bit more appealing, right? Instead of spending 100 grand to build it yourself, you can save yourself a little bit of money, buy it used, and go from there. But keep in mind, all the rehab that has to go into this truck. You don't know the history. You don't know how it's been abused. It could have issues. This is a very expensive build. It's a very expensive hobby. So which one should you do? Should you buy it or should you build it? This is a decision you guys are going to have to make. Now, let me also show you a couple other examples because I have been looking at quite a bit of vehicles, and I haven't been able to find something that I'm like, okay, I gotta have this. We looked at maybe getting more like a pre-runner build. Find one that's like a proper pre-runner setup, see if we like it, and see if that's something that we could get into, right? And we found this really cool pre-runner. It looks like it was a cage build, but the whole bed is gone. It's all being redone. It's got dual shocks up front. It's got an engine cage. The inside looks like it's a full-on pre-runner setup. It's a really cool truck. When we ran the numbers, it wasn't so cool. At its core, this is a 2004 F-150. The price is very lucrative, right? He's only asking $40,000 for that truck. So you think about it, there's more than $40,000 worth of work in there. There's easily, with the cage work and everything like that, there's easily $100,000 worth of work in that truck. And from the pictures, it looks like it's in decent shape. It's been taken care of. But $40,000. Tax and licensing is going to be about $4,000. That's a $44,000 truck. Book value on that truck, though, Kelly Blue book value on that truck is $7,500. None of the extra work adds any value. In fact, if the bank actually saw this truck, they probably wouldn't value it at anything because of all the customization. But as far as the book value goes, because they normally don't inspect vehicles, $7,500. That means that if you wanted to buy that truck, it would cost you $36,500 out of pocket, and you would finance $7,500. And good luck trying to find a bank that'll finance you that low. Most banks want to finance at least $30,000 or more. This vehicle doesn't have any of that, so you have to come up with $40,000 out of your pocket in order to get that truck, because banks won't finance it. Now, like most of you guys, I'm a finance guy. I have to be able to finance part of the cost. That's how I do my planning. I know there's a lot of you guys going to go, well, if you can't afford this hobby, don't get into it. Not everybody's independently wealthy. Some of us being able to finance our vehicles so we can go have fun, and that's what I'm going to focus on. On that same token, we also found a really cool 2017 cage build that recently came up on the market, and I bring this one up for a reason. Just because it's a cage build doesn't mean it's something good. And let me show you what I mean by that. So this is a really cool truck. It's a 2017, which is the best year ever for the Raptors in my opinion. I don't care what anybody says. This guy says it's a $100,000 build, and I'm not trying to trash this build, guys. This is a really good build done by Brenthal Racing. It's got the Baja Kids front end. It's really cool, you know, dual shock setup up front. He's got a nice bumper. It looks like it's the 80D bumper front. He's got the wide fenders both front and back. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of money in here. But then one thing caught my eye. See where the tires are. The tires in the rack and everything's towards the back. And it looked kind of funny, you know, but you look inside and you're like, wait a minute, this is a fully caged build. It's a full cage interior. It's all lined. It's got the shocks. It's got the dual Lawrence system. This looks like a really cool build. But then there's another weird picture. Why is he towing with this thing? It's an off-road truck. He's towing with it. It's a little odd. Then you finally get a little bit better look. It's a little far away. He doesn't have the best of bed supports. I mean, he has that really, I don't know, what's he running? I can't see the beds, whatever. It looks kind of funky, but then again, you go inside, okay, that's really good, right? So the reason why this build looked odd to me is because it's not done. So this guy wants $98,000 for the build, but guess what? He's running a stock rear end. He's only running 3.0 rear bypass shocks. That's it. There's not 3.5s or anything like that. This right here, while there's a lot of really great work on here, there's easily $100,000 worth of work in this truck. In my opinion, this truck's not worth $98,000 because the back end is still basically stock. Yeah, he's upgraded to the King's 3.0 bypass in the back, but they're opposing shocks right now. They're kind of set opposing. It's not the 3.5-inch shocks that we're all used to with the rack going through the bed. In this configuration, this guy's going to be completely overloading that back end with that front end. So to me, this is an incomplete build. So even though he wants $98,000, and I'm sure there's more than that work in there, to me, this is not a good build because it's not complete. And if you do the economics, it also doesn't make sense. The price tag of the vehicle is $98,000. Assuming he doesn't budge, that's $9,800 worth of tax and licensing. Total is $107,000. The most the banks will finance on a 2017 Raptor with this many miles is $65,000 at 100%. So that means that out of pocket, you'd have to come up with $42,000. The build is easily $100,000, but you're getting it a little bit less than half the price, but it's not done. You're gonna have to spend at least another $15,000 on this truck just to get it going and be able to use its full capabilities. Because right now, that back end is gonna be completely overwhelmed by the front. The dual shocks in the front are gonna overwhelm the hell out of that back end. And I don't recommend it. Not trying to dog this guy. I think this guy's was headed in the right direction. But like many people, they kind of overestimate how expensive these builds are going to be and probably ran out of money. That extra 15 grand is a lot to get that back end done right. He may even ran into a problem where he couldn't get the shocks. There is also, I also looked at another truck. Now, I'm not going to show the pictures of this one because this was sent to me, and I don't know if the guy was okay with me sharing out the info. I know he is going to list it, so if he lists it by the time this video is up, I'll make sure I include the listing with it. but he's got this killer, and I mean killer, Gen 1 HM build. This thing only has 11,000 miles. It's barely been driven. He wants 80 grand for it. Figure out the door price is going to be about 88,000. If I were to finance it, that blue book value is really good on this one. It's 52,000, but still, because his price is so high, that's $36,000 you'd have to come out of pocket. Give you guys an idea on this build. In order to build this build, based on what the work he's done, it's easily $60,000 or more. So you are getting it for half, but you'd have to come up with all that stuff right off the bat out of pocket. All right, guys, so that's just a couple examples to show you what it takes to get into these expensive builds. And that's the key here, guys. They are expensive no matter what. There's a lot of out-of-pocket costs, and you can't just finance it. I know I don't have that much to put on a build like these. As it is, the Raptor core truck was at the limit of what I could possibly do. We are still going to be looking, but one thing that we have realized is we don't have enough budget for what we want to do. So one of the things we're going to be doing is all my parts that came off the Raptor are going up for sale. We're going to put the links to some of the ads already. We have the rack up right now, our full RPG rack system, that's for sale. We have our Devers for sale. I would recommend anybody that wants this rack probably wants to get the Devers as well, because these can handle it and then some. We have some of my spare parts, like the stock intercooler, RPG tie rods, the stock line tie rods. We have our bump stop kit. We have our bead lock rings, 6 of those bead lock rings. We have a lot of stuff for sale. So if you guys are interested, let me know. This is the only way we're going to be able to buy our next build. We need to raise funds. If you guys want to support the channel, this is one way you could do it. Reach out to me. All the prices are negotiable. Lowball offers will be ignored and given a big fuck you. We definitely need to sell some of this stuff off and raise some capital for the truck. And I hate to say it, but my baby's up for sale too. I know. I told myself I wasn't going to sell this car. I love this thing, but we are going to put this bad boy up for sale. If you guys are interested in it, let me know. There is an ad up for it. We'll list it up. Now, this is not something that I want to sell if I can avoid it, but it's one of the options that we have on the table. We spend a lot of time with it, and that's something we're going to do over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to show you a lot of the work we put into this car just to get it running right, to get it rehab properly. The last owner didn't quite take care of it, but the previous owners did. I have a stack of maintenance records for this thing, but the last owner was a little too hard to it. So we're fixing everything from stock stereo back in it, a properly functioning stock stereo back in it. We've taken care of a lot of the oil leaks. We've done a lot of the preventative maintenance. We've done a lot to get this car to be a fully functional 9N5. We're also going to link the video of where we did a full inspection of this car so you guys can see what this car looks like and the condition of it back then. And you know, it was appraised for $25,000 back then. Since then, we've discovered more history on the car, like the rod bearings had already been done early at 150,000 miles. So it's got well over 100,000 miles before that has to be done again. So this car is a really good, strong example. I don't want to sell it, but if we want to get a proper build, it's one of the ways we're going to do it. So no matter which direction you decide to go, there's going to be a substantial amount of money down. If you decide to go finance, it's obviously going to be less, but you're going to have to do more rehab. If you decide to go and do your own build, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be brand new, but your out-of-pocket cost is going to be almost double. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. It's a personal decision. Do you want to get a used truck and make it a project, something that you rehab, but keep in mind you are kind of taking in a lot of other people's problems, or do you want to finance a truck and build it yourself? If you build it yourself, you know exactly what went into it. You know where all the faults are. You know how to fix it because you've already worked on it. But the cost is going to be almost double in many cases. The decision is ultimately you guys. As far as what we're going to do, we don't know yet. The Raptor core guy's not budging on that price, so unfortunately we're not going to get that truck. He wants a certain amount based on the condition, and you know, I think you guys would agree it's priced a little too high. Even with the amount of money he wants to come down, it's a little too high for me. So I'm going to keep looking. In the meantime, we may get a tour of FCC shop here in the future. I don't know. We're going to try to work that out. They reached out on a comment I made on their bump stop kit because I'm not a fan of their kit, and they offered to show me why they do things. So that'd be a cool thing to do. Get up there with SVC, go through the shop tour, and have them answer some of the tough questions. And I hope they're open to answering them. With that, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, put any question or comments below, and we'll see you guys on the next one. You know, you guys are totally distracting over there.